Welcome to the Heartwork Podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sarah.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in.
Team vibes. So I think too, like on the side of culture, I would consider Sarah and I very interested in creating an optimal and beautiful culture for our teams and very much caring about the human that we work with and wanting to honor them. There's a lot of beautiful offices that do that. And so you get to hear from other offices, different suggestions, different opportunities, different things that might come to light. And you may take an opportunity to like bring something into your own fold and try it for a little bit and then may realize I'm going to switch it up. Just like your systems and procedure, your culture, your values, how you should like all of those things can also be fluid. But something like, I don't know, I've been recently wrestling a little with I don't want to say the dark side of like inner work, but just sometimes like when you get into wanting to create so much space and culture for development and having humans show up authentically and wanting them to be their best selves, but also knowing that we're not always 100% all of the time. I feel like I have kind of ricocheted to the opposite side of giving so much space for that that it actually has taken away from some accountability of not only, okay, great, you have the awareness now, you understand yourself more, and so you can feel when things are not the greatest. And you can feel like I'm not my best today, or like this is hard and this is what's going on in my life right now. And recognize it. But I'm in a position now where I'm like, okay, well, I really want my team to like recognize that, but not like then have the choice of like, okay, cool, that can be true. And I can also move towards, I don't want to say strive towards like a performance, but just like I can still choose to show up differently in practice and in with other people and in even just with the team, even though this is also going on. Because like one of the things that we started doing that I hadn't done before were vibe checks every day. So it was like, okay, let's get a capacity check on people, like from a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being like, you are in the fucking clouds. Everything is rainbows and sunshine. Like we're just gliding through life. And 0 is like, you are the dog with everything on fire around you in the coffee cup. And so we would just be like, okay, cool. Let's do a vibe check each morning. We'll check in with each other. And then also if we find out what your vibe is and we need to help you, then choose a different role for that day. Or it's like, hey, you're vibing at a 0. Like you're not going to do any new patient intakes today. But it's also like, okay, well, you are probably not going to be the best person to be at the front desk to like greet people and be excited. Maybe we'll just put you in back office, have you do some paperwork or support the team from the side or work on social media, like, whatever it may be. But I'm starting to realize we've been doing this, I don't know, for maybe like 6 months or so. And we've been doing it for a little bit. I think I think we started actually, I think we started in like October, November. And we recently, I think over the last like 2 months, moved it because we would do it at the end of our huddle before starting our shift. We moved it towards the top of the huddle. So we always start every day with like a grateful. And then we go over the schedule and we go over like the stats from the previous day, et cetera. But I moved the vibe checks up because I was like, okay, cool. Let's do our grateful. Let's do our vibe checks. So we can get a temperature check on where everyone is so that as we go through the schedule, if we do need to make alterations or changes, we can do that based off of where people are at. And I'm sitting here and I have been personally changing a lot over this last month. And my team, if you are listening to this, please hear my heart in it. But like, I am like, I need to fucking get rid of vibe checks. Like I am done with vibe checks because one, I notice when my energy is sucky, I show up sucky and I don't want to show up sucky. And I have been like just navigating my own stuff. And I feel like my energy has been a little bit lower. And I realize that as the leader, I too am also the thermostat for my business. And I need to stay set at a different thermostat. It's not that I can't be human, etc. But if I'm the leader, I'm also, controlling some of the energy and the culture and the drive and the vision and the ambition and the desire and the humanness of our practice. And I just am noticing that as I have other humans around me, sometimes we're high, sometimes they're low. But I am a person that I'm still developing my filter for other people's energy as well. And so I'll be hearing, someone be like, "Yep, I'm at an 8, I'm great." And then someone's like, "I'm at a 2," or someone's like, "Mentally I'm here, physically I'm here." And things are just changing. And I'm like noticing that I'm absorbing that. And I'm also noticing that it's giving us a lot of space to try and caretake and mother each other versus recognizing that those are adult human beings in front of us. And if they truly need some assistance for that day and need some TLC or need to change up a role or are not able to show up, like they also can then take the responsibility to recognize where they're at and then again lead themselves, ask for help if needed, and or pick it up and like we're still here to do a job and to serve other people. And it's not that you can't sit in that, and it's not that you can't then take a nice walk during lunch break or like take an extra couple minutes in the back if you need to recenter yourself or whatever that is. But why do I need to be the person that has to always make sure that you are accommodated? I have just been in a place where not only in my work life, in my personal life, just in general, my eyes are opening to how much I do to try and accommodate other people, their emotions, their behavior, their reactions, how much they like me, if they don't like me, what did I say, how am I showing up, blah, blah, blah. And I am honestly, through my own journey, just like recognizing it and seeing it. And I'm in a stage where I'm like almost a little like mad how I have been like allowing it because I'm like, God damn it. When is the first time that I'm going to actually start accommodating my freaking self? But like, that's also, this is also like, this is a little theme that has been kind of showing up since like August, September of just like how much I have been trying to create a culture of, how do I want to say it? A culture of authenticity and showing up and being okay with being, experiencing your width of human emotions. And we can be a place where you can learn that and explore that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, am I a fucking like emotional play gym? Or am I also a business that has to work with other people and like provide to them and for us to also work with each other? Because if that's happening and like the team is there, it does affect everyone else. And we're like all now vibing at the average, which is a 4 because some of us might be here and some of us are there, but we're like holding space for it, but it's not actually productive where there's a change with it. It's just an
Mhm.
acknowledgement. And so it's like, yeah, there's some stuff over there that doesn't feel super great. And we can all acknowledge, but like if you need a moment to be held in a little space, we can do that. But it doesn't mean every single day we gotta check in. And also if we notice like it's not changing for that person, it's not changing for that person, it's not changing for that person. It's like, okay, how do we get ourselves out of it now? So I don't know when this episode is coming out, but I'm going to be talking to my team about eliminating vibe checks next week. And again, this is not to say that I do not check in with my team personally. Like, we do a lot of intentional stuff with our team. One of my team leads, she meets with our CAs every month, do a one-on-one, like personal and professional check-in. I do that quarterly with the team. So there is space and time given to show up and be ourselves. And we don't have to put on a mask, but just energetically, like you can pinpoint and start to recognize what you're allowing in that space and what's actually productive versus what's just kind of like gonna sit there and not have like and feel stagnant and not actually have like movement and positivity. And as we recently had a one of my friends come and do like an energetic aura like cleansing and stuff with us. And um she like suggested that prior to starting each shift, like get together and just like throw out the asks of what you have for the day. Like ask the universe, like, what is it that you want to see? How do you want to show up? How do you want people to experience you that day? And so we have sometimes at huddle, like before we go out on the field, like just all kind of gotten together in a circle. Sometimes we hold hands and we're just like, we want mamas to feel seen today. We want to show up as our best for other people. We want to be a place where people feel better after they've been here versus when they first came in. And we just like throw out the ask of how we want that like beautiful energy. We want 3 new patients today. Like, we want to be able to serve people that need serving today, like, and show up. It's like, that's the kind of like positive, like, pull that really, again, like, emanates more light from things versus like, where's everybody at today? Are we good? Do we need to move you around? Blah, blah, blah. Are you little children? Am I mommy still? Like,
Mm.
no, I'm not.
This is like culture to a big time layer deeper. So,
Yeah.
like, when you think about how you are leading yourself and your team, like, this also shows up in how culture is emanated throughout your whole office, how the energy bleeds, all that type of stuff. And this is like what she's talking about is like truly like you just said it. Like, it's literally a version of mothering, like, and caretaking for somebody else's emotions, for their energy, for how they show up. And I've literally it's funny that we've been talking about it, but it's wild. It's the theme of like every single person I've been talking to lately, that everybody is going through some version of accommodation, whether it be like what you're saying or to the fullest of like energy. I have a client that she's literally also going through so much like healing, like trauma healing right now. So like her energy as she goes to the office is a little bit just tired. Like there's just a lot happening. And so one of the things that I was talking to her, because she has also been very open and vulnerable with her team to a certain degree, not about all the things, but just open enough to where they know like kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
However, that has same to what you're saying. It's allowed their team to also go and express their own low energy. And so one of the things that I've talked to her about and just like understanding like the qualities of your team, the leaders of your team, like to what Marisa said, yes, she's the thermostat. However, there might be seasons of life that you actually, I'm going to push back on that actually a little bit, Marisa, because I think at the end of the day, yes, I can be the thermostat and I'm going to be there, but you can also have people on your team that are going to hold the same thermostat for you as
Right.
leaders in the team and potentially even hold it higher than where you are as a leader as well. If you do a good job at leading them and open and honest about where you're at and that you need that support and ask for help. And so that was one of the things I talked to her about is like, I really think that there's a potential opportunity here because you've also empowered this human being. She's also one of the ones that is kind of bringing some of the energy down, but she can hold a standard that's higher because that's what you've entrusted her to do. And even if you're not the one that's having to dictate that energy. And so that was a conversation that they just had. And it's maneuvered brilliantly, and they were able to have this open and honest conversation. She's like, yes, I want to hold that space and I want to own that. And knowing obviously, yes, like this owner is literally like doing the work, showing up, even in the midst of all of her shit, she's still showing up. I think that's the opportunity is like, you don't have to be on 150 miles an hour or at 150% every single time, but you can also be a little bit honest about where you are, but also hold your people to that same accountability. And that's something that I've learned over the years is like it truly is you can have so many layers to this. Like you've talked about this like since August, September. It's like there are so many layers and you have eyes now that you didn't have in August, September, right? So it's like there's so many beautiful layers and it's going to show up in different places and times. And it's this understanding. It's like when, for one, if you're doing that, you are accommodating and you are giving of yourself, and you typically are doing it out of a place, again, like Marisa was saying, like, I want to be seen, I want to be known, I want to be a
Like,
people pleaser, I want them to like me, like all those types of things. But typically you are compromising something of yourself. So in turn, you probably are a little bit more resentful to actually what's actually happening. So where you said, like, I'm a little bit angry and I'm frustrated and I don't know how to like change this almost. Um, and sometimes it's just as like one little moment. All you got to do is start to have a conversation and do it. But um, that truly is like mothering at its core and a version of mothering and caretaking as like a false identity that false identity is coming out to where you again then in turn want to be needed, want to be seen, want to be cared for. Um, and the coolest part is, I think the neatest part for me is when now I get to like coach my team on when they're mothering and like when they're doing the things that I now used to do myself. Um, so I had a conversation with my clinical director this week, and it was such a beautiful conversation. And I just have observed because we're just in a beautiful season of transition with hiring some people and we got maternity leaves happening and all that. So she's really taking on authority in a lot of ways to where talk about somebody that holds the energy. She holds the energy for me way more than for one she ever has. She maintains the energy when I'm not there, all of that. She literally is that human.
Mm.
And however, I've watched her mother. I've watched her kind of do a little bit of some micromanaging, making sure that everybody's taken care of, and, like, I'm just watching her a little bit. I'm like, "It's really interesting to see somebody else do it that's in my ecosystem." And we had such a brilliant conversation, and it all came down to part of it was this expression of she's trying to create an environment, and if somebody, again, doesn't uphold that environment, it's a reflection on how well she's performing. And at the end of the day, like, it's all how we perceive ourselves and how we hold ourselves, and I told her, I was like, "At the end of the day, there's a difference between being very kind and empathetic leader and being a very strong and bold leader at the same time. You can have both. It's not your job to manage people's emotions. It is not your job to create an experience to then make sure that they have the reaction that you want them to have. It's your job to maintain the culture and the standard to which this business operates from. If they don't live up to that, okay, that's their own shit. That's their thing. And that's where you get to coach them in. You get to continue to expose that for them. And then if they choose not to, then they're not the right fit. Like, but
Because
I
you have
tell you,
that standard.
because you have that standard and you're not just like, it doesn't mean you can't be kind as you're having those conversations. It does not mean you can't be kind as you are creating the experience. And you can be incredibly strong at the same time. There is nuance to that. And I think the beautiful part when you start to understand that and release that, it releases the pressure that you feel like you're having to like hold that for every single human. And it allows you, like you were saying, it allows you to be your true authentic self. And then really at the end of the day, it also allows everybody else to be their true authentic self and step into their power because really when you do that, you eliminate everybody else's power. They are not gonna step up if you are just taking care of them at the same time. So
I think, so 2 things. One that just came to mind as you were talking about that too is, like, people like to relate with each other, right?
mm,
And
yep.
so, sometimes too, if you have someone that is going through something and it's constantly up at the forefront of conversation and thought, other people may start to dull their own high vibe, being like, "Oh, well, yeah, this thing happened with my spouse today, and so I'm just vibing at a 6 because they're like, "Oh, I don't wanna make that person feel bad that they're at a 2 today, and I've had, like, the best morning so far, and I'm, like, at a 9 and a 10." And now you have one person that's also a little ostracized and, like, stands out like a sore thumb, and you may have other team members that will literally purposefully, and I don't know if it's necessarily consciously, right? But they may start to lower their own, at least what they say is their presence, to accommodate for someone else's lackluster feeling. And again, it's not that we can't be present, but like, does it need to be every single day where you're asking people to literally check in to say, are you vibing good today or are you not vibing
Mhm.
good? Because then what if they just start to like also second guess themselves? Like, should I have a lower vibe today?
Yeah.
Should I feel shame because I don't have a great, amazing vibe today? And again, like, we're not sitting here saying that 10 out of 10 means you have to be the fakest, most toxically positive person. But I don't know. I think that's the invitation for me. Like, as you said, it's like, yeah, other people can be on your team that can also set that temperature with you. But that's like a delegation process for me in the sense of holding accountability to, for example, my team lead or to, for example, a culture officer or to another associate doc of like, you are going to create the energy and the ambiance and contribute to it as well. And just like you may have a day, someone else might. While we may not all be privy to that because of different people's desires to share or not share, it doesn't mean that like you can't help raise that up so we can do what we need to do. And so that's like,
Mhm.
again, like me not only leading myself, but learning how to communicate that, lead them, but hold them accountable to holding that line and holding that standard.
Well, it comes back then when you do it that way, it comes back to the actual business
Yeah.
and not it doesn't make it personal at that
Right.
point.
Right.
When you use it from the place of again, like, this is just our culture. This is just who we are. This is how we operate in this place. Yes, we allow humans to obviously exist here because we're all humans, and at the same time, it takes out the personality and making it personal for people. If you can do that, then you literally are set, and, like but then again, you also it will be very, very clear if somebody is not meeting the expectation or the standard that is set. And I think that's the biggest gift that I've seen is like we have become we're so kind, but at the same time we've gotten a lot stronger. So it weeds out the people that are not in alignment with that a lot faster.
Yeah. What would be like, what's the first leak that you see this happen with your clients? Like, what's like the number one area that you see this show up where you're picking out their like tactic or their people pleasing
Or it's
tactic
always
with the team culture?
it's always team. They're
Yeah.
doing it for the energy to accommodate everybody else's team energy.
Yeah.
It's not systems but like I was talking to another client this that week and she was making choices to accommodate for every other person in her office to make sure they were taken care of. And like, for example, she was literally going on a trip and her team came to her like, actually, can you come back on Monday? 'Cause it's going to be really busy. And she chose to do that instead of just be like, no, I'm on vacation. You guys can figure it out. And she literally told me about 5 different things in this one call. And we had a beautiful conversation about this. She knows this and all that type of stuff as well. There were literally small accommodations that she had made without really even understanding it and seeing it. But she made these small little accommodations to make sure that they were taken care of first before her. And in her place, it was a guise and a disguise for, well, I really love what I do and I love to work and it's a big part of my identity. So if you don't work and if you don't do all those things, who are you? So then it came back to that for her identity of I don't really know who I am outside of all doing all these things. So I keep doing all these things to make sure that everybody else is taken care of, but also at the same time, it also makes me feel really, really good.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Like the armor that we could wear or like the identity we put out there that like no one works harder than me. Like this is my baby. This is everything. Like I'm always gonna show up. If you guys don't show up and it's snowing, like I'm still gonna be there. I'm still gonna open the office. Like look at me and how much I serve. And you can I don't know, do you feel like they're in a situation like that, you're almost trying to martyr yourself to have other people do the same? Or like that you have a level of expectation of that for others? Because sometimes I see that, like, when you are showing that way, then you get resentful that other people don't martyr themselves for you.
Well, I think that goes back to like what we were saying. It's like if you are mothering or caretaking, especially if that's a big core root of yourself, or if you are a people pleaser and you want to take care and accommodate a lot of other people, it is automatically you're going to compromise versions of yourself to where if people don't reciprocate the same thing in return, you're going to feel hurt based, and it's a betrayal. It's essentially like you're going to feel betrayed because somebody is not doing the same back to you because you are not then being mothered, you're not being cared for, you're not being given that in reciprocation. And so it typically is something that like it very much will get exposed. And it's not a lot of times always in the beginning, but it will stack piles of evidence over the course of time where then it'll be the smallest little thing that will go off and you get frustrated and you get mad of like, well, why don't they do this for me? Why don't they help me here? Because I'm doing this all for them.
Yeah. It can be so sticky. Like even for me, I had a thought in my brain like, "Oh, if I take away vibe checks, are they going to think that I don't care about like them and what's going on in their life and like how they are or, want to provide an opportunity where they could raise their vibe?" But it's like, "Why am I responsible for raising your vibe? I'm responsible for holding you like you have a job here, like we get to do this together, like this is fun, we're building something, blah blah blah." But like I am not your mommy to, like,
Mm.
say, like, "Okay, go ahead, go take 5 minutes. Go
No, I
relax."
mean, at the end of the day, like that is literally a job's responsibility. If they need to figure out what they need to do to be able to show up, that is something that you get to as a leader create to where they figure that out before they walk in those doors. They figure it out on lunch break. They figure it out as they head home. Like in the office, like we all may have moments where you may need a breath, but at the same time, like that this is just the expectation that you show up and you do the job. We're not here that long, like so
Yeah, or you, like, learn how to just communicate your needs and, like, lean on your team on a random day.
yeah. And ask what you need, 100%.
100%. Haha, jinx.
We used to do a capacity check, and this is what something Maurice and I were talking about this week is, like, I used to do this with my team as well, and we only did it about once a month where we would do a capacity check, and it was wild as I watched it and observed it. We only did it for about 3 months, and I nixed it real fast because I had a bunch of people on my team at this time where they were very much that, like, negative Nancy's a little bit, and they would say, like, "I'm at an 8, but" it's like there was almost like it was like, "I'm here, however, my life was really, really hard." And it always became like, "I'm here, but you would need to acknowledge that life is really difficult." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, everybody's life is hard." We all have our own version of hard, right? We all have our own version of hard. It's how you show up in that hard. And so and also, again, why do we call it hard? Like, we all have our own version of life, right? And so I saw it, and it literally would drag us down. And I'm like, I don't like, I know that we all have a level of capacity. It's going to change and it's going to move, but it's all a freaking lie when we tie it to the understanding of, like, this is how I then show up, I think. And so it literally, it can get in your way of, again, just being present with how something can change because we very much identify and we give permission for the hard to rule our life versus the opportunity to know it's like, okay, this is potentially happening for me. How am I going to interact in this and how I'm going to move in this? And at the same time, I don't want that to be my only thing. I'm going to actually allow myself to step into that and have different energy. I'm going to hold this differently because I don't want to actually have that be my identifying factor. So, I mean, I hear you. I mean, I did it myself. I also nixed it real quick and I'm like, no, no, we're not going to sit in that sludge for long because that's not okay.
Yeah. It's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, like this is, I love all this stuff so much, right? But like at the end of the day, too, one of the things that I have been talking with Sarah about is I feel like because I have been personally changing so much, I feel like our team has been changing. We have been refining a lot of systems because we've just had like a slower move in our business recently. And so we've just been hashing and kind of going through some different processes. And I was like, I had just installed this in like October or November. It's like, am I changing now? Like, because there's also the rhythm around when you're changing a lot for your team, then like, are they like, "Okay, well, Dr. M's gonna get rid of this now, like, well, we'll see what shows up again in another month, and then, well, can we actually trust that that'll stick around?" and stuff like that, and it's one of the things that you had shared with me, and I'm gonna let you do it so that it comes from, like, your beautiful words and tone, was just that, like, okay, if you're not changing, then what does that mean though too? And it's okay to say I am growing and evolving as a leader. And so do our culture standards. So do our
Mhm.
core values. So do the levels of excellence continue to evolve and grow. And it's okay to make a decision and then decide that, you know what, it's actually not contributing to what those core values and intentions and culture standards are. You tried it, it's not meeting it. It's okay to nix it. And it's okay to keep switching that up.
Well, to what you said, the first thing that you said was, "Is my team gonna think this if I do this?"
Competition!
So, without even realizing it, that's what we do. We think about what they're gonna think first before
Right.
we actually make the decision for ourselves and sit with the intuition for what we actually want and what we know we need and what's actually beneficial for us. And the only thing that you can motherfucking count on is change. Literally the only thing that you can count on. And if you are not evolving, if you're not changing, that's where you're stuck and that's where you're not moving and that's where growth doesn't happen. And so that's literally something I have taught my team really for about the past 5 years is where because my team got to this point where anytime that there was change, they would freeze and they would like, "We hate it. We don't like it. I don't like change." And I'm like, "What is happening? I've created this thing. I've literally created it because at the end of the day, I also didn't like change. There was something that was happening inside of me too." But I'm like, "No, no, no." Like at the end of the day, if I know what is true, especially at this journey that we do know is true, I'm not the same freaking person that I was 3 months ago. You are definitely not the same person that you were if we talk about since August, September, right?
Oh
She
my
is
god.
not she was back then. And so, like, we both like, there's been so much evolution and change. So why would that not be also evident in how we show up, how we lead, and what our business is going to do? And so, and ultimately at the same time, again, this just goes back to your team. If they, for one, like, I mean, there have definitely been people that are no longer with me since that 5 years. But the core group of people that have been with me for the longest, they know that and they see that because I've taught them and I've infused this culture aspect for them. And they are literally, they see it. Doesn't mean it's always comfortable. And at the same time, they will do their own work to understand why it may not be comfortable because it's typically a reflection on them, not necessarily a reflection on me as their boss or a reflection on the business itself. And so it's a beautiful mirror moment for all factors of everybody. And then you get to give them the opportunity to also step forward and step in at the same time. And Marissa's literally like eager, biting at the
I'm
bullet to say,
chomping at the bit to like say to contribute next because that's where I think the identity work is so fucking important. But like for me, for example, I took on the identity so much of being like, oh, you're going to want to work at Dr. M's practice. Oh, you're going to
"Huh,
want to work at Homestead. It is such a positive work environment. She sees you for the human that you are. She gives
yeah,
space for you to like be yourself and they actually care about your personal life and checking in with you. I had that like process and I had that so much even just with like students that would come to the door. You need to come be Homestead. You need to come see what chiropractic and business that feels so good and is so exciting and so nurturing and like positive together like actually feel like, but that's not the culture builder. That is the identity continuer for me. That's a false identity. And the purpose is to build a culture where people can mirror reflect for themselves and grow as individual humans. But that doesn't mean that you need to be the facilitator of their growth by being in it with them. You can hold a moment for them. You can encourage them. You can lead them through it by your own experience and your own understanding of self and show by example. But it doesn't mean that you need to be their mirror. They
uh,
can be their own mirror and you can encourage and lead and help teach them how to do that. But that requires you to know yourself and for you to go through that and be okay with saying, yeah, I have grown. And I'm realizing that this is actually an expression of a part of me that is not my healthiest expression of self.
mhm." One of the greatest gifts, and I'm just gonna make a call out for this, but one of the greatest gifts that I have provided for my team was also their own support because sometimes like it's and this is why we've done this and why we obviously hosted in person. We've talked about certain things is that sometimes if you are doing your own work, it can be really hard for you to feel like you're coaching your team or leading your team. And I got to that point too where I was like, I feel like if I enter that lane where I'm really, really trying to coach them in this space, it's me trying to mother them in a way of coaching. It felt really weird for me, at least at the season of time that I was at. And so I hired a business coach here local to Knoxville. And it has literally been one of the greatest gifts that I've ever done. Whether you look for somebody, if you find yourself in that space, that would just be another just invitation for you. Potentially find somebody that you feel like could support you as you're doing your own work, but potentially even your team. I started with my leader team. I didn't start with everybody because not everybody was ready to handle that. I only started with a couple people, and then we'll do like team bondings and team moments stuff like that for sure too. Um, and maybe it's just like, or maybe it's a place where you say, like, I'm going to invite you to do some counseling for some team because you know they're just motherfucking bleeding all over the place and that they just need some support. Like there might be just other places. And because it is not always your job to also be a counselor and or be the coach for that person's life. So to just have discernment on that, like I'm at a stage in my life now where I definitely am in a coach, but like I was literally talking to my clinical director today and I was like talking through her and I like brought a lot to her attention. She's like, okay, cool. I'm going to bring this to Stacy, who is now a part of her coach, but she's this neutral person in her life that she trusts that she can now take a lot of this too. So I didn't have to sit with her in all of it. I brought a lot of it to the forefront for her. And then literally she's going to now take it and process it out with somebody that she trusts that she can do the work with. And so it's just a beautiful rhythm around the understanding of like, you can be a huge advocate and a huge mover of your team. We both have done that. And you might find yourself get to a point where you're like, man, I may need some other support. So, um, if you have questions about that, please reach out to us because whether it's with us, we can recommend some other people or also give you some guidance about who we'd suggest to be able to move forward with that as well. So just a little tidbit on that.
No, it's so important, and it is true. I mean, I've even gotten to the place where I've invested to have team go do those things because I know it will assist them, but I don't need to be the one to sit with them or coach them through it. And also,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that they're going to want to share all of their triggers too with their boss. So, like,
Yeah.
having that neutral party is such a beautiful thing, but also, too, like, when you do invest in your own growth, understanding, self awareness, that also then contributes to your team's culture, your service, and the way that everyone shows up. for the purpose of your business moving forward, not to show up as a therapy group.
Yes. It is not your job to be their therapist or be their mother. It is your job to be their leader and their boss.
Yeah. Amen.
So thank you for joining us on another episode of the Heartwork Podcast. We hope today's conversation has inspired you to lead with heart in your business and life.
If you enjoyed this, subscribe so you never miss a release, rate our show, leave us a review, get on our VIP email list, and join our exclusive Facebook group, The Heartwork Life, to plug into our community and learn from us and other heart-led entrepreneurs on a weekly basis.
We look forward to chatting with you next time.
Bye!